JJK recently shocked the fans to their very core with a massive death nobody expected would happen. The most popular character in the series, Gojo, ended up being killed in his fight against Sukuna. This unbelievable event shook the internet for days, and ever since then, fans have been trying to come up with theories that indicate Gojo's return. Of course, Gojo is dead at the moment. However, a return for him really isn't off the cards at all. This is especially true now more than ever before, given that Akutami himself has dropped hints about his inevitable return as the series progresses. Fans of Gojo can rest easy, as it appears that he will likely come back later in the story. Before we begin with a heavy copium, please throw the like button into the ocean, and please subscribe to my channel and turn on all post notifications so you don't miss any uploads. Are you guys ready for copium? If you're ready, let's begin. Gojo and Sukuna ended up fighting in an extremely exciting battle in the Culling Game arc. Fans knew these two sorcerers to be incredibly powerful. In fact, among all the sorcerers, Gojo and Sukuna stood at the very top. Sukuna was the strongest sorcerer in history, while Gojo was the strongest sorcerer of the modern era. Right from the get-go, it was clear that these two were evenly matched. However, as the battle progressed further, it was clear that Gojo held the upper hand in this fight due to the incredible fighting intellect that he possessed. Satoru was able to dominate Sukuna for the vast majority of the fight, even though Sukuna had Megumi's body as a hostage and access to the Ten Shadows technique. The author showcased Sukuna being dominated for the vast majority of this clash. However, despite all that, it was Gojo who ended up losing, which is what infuriated quite a lot of the fans. What's worse, the manner of Gojo's death did not make much sense and was called into question by many who believe that it was handled rather poorly, and if the author really did intend to go that way, it should have been done in a much better manner. Regardless, the result of the battle was clear. Gojo ended up losing the fight while Sukuna was the winner. Gojo died and had his body chopped, which led to his imminent death. Ever since then, the story has focused on different fights, which all but confirms that Gojo is dead. The death of a character as beloved as Gojo Satoru shook the entire world. It was no wonder that fans were looking at different ways in which Satoru Gojo could return, and to their credit, there are countless things that support the idea of his return later down the line, starting with chapter 236 of JJK itself. As has been mentioned by many fans, the circumstances surrounding Gojo's death are rather unique. Satoru Gojo was seen in a plane of existence between life and death, as most characters in JJK do. In this plane, he was seen interacting with his fellow mates from when he was a student and other people that he fostered connections with over the years. Curiously enough, the idea of going north and south was mentioned here for the first time. It was revealed that those who are content with their current versions end up going north, and those who want to seek out a newer version of themselves end up going south. The vast majority of the characters take the northern route. However, knowing Gojo, he would most likely take the southern route here, and this could potentially result in a rebirth. Nobody knows what happens in the southern route, as no character has ever taken this path in the first place. Gojo could be the first character to take this path and, through it, return later down the line. While this is the major piece of evidence that suggests the return of Gojo, there are many other hints as well, such as the flower that symbolizes rebirth surrounding Gojo after he died. But the biggest hint was dropped by the author himself in Jujutsu Kaisen chapter 239, titled Baka Survivor. JJK chapter 239 focused on the fight between Kenjaku and Takaba. In fact, there was hardly any mention of Gojo during the chapter, so one might want to ask what this hint exactly is. To know the hint, fans will have to delve a bit deeper into the chapter and dissect everything about it, starting from the title itself. The title of the chapter was Baka Survivor, and for those who don't know, this is a reference to the Bobobe anime, which the author is a fan of. One of the openings of this anime was titled Baka Survivor, and it is clear that the creator was paying homage to the series by using the name of the opening as his chapter title. This clearly shows that the author takes inspiration from this anime in some way or form. However, when one looks deeper into it, things start getting more interesting. One of the characters in the manga, called Takuro, dies a sudden death that came absolutely out of nowhere. Fans remember that the death of Gojo came somewhat similarly. Gojo was winning his fight against Sukuna. However, in the very next chapter, he was found dead, which is nothing short of staggering. Essentially, Gojo's death was a parallel to the death of Takuro, who died in a very similar fashion. In fact, what's even more surprising is the fact that they both got slashed in half and they both had similar blood marks on their faces. These things go beyond simple coincidences, and it is quite clear for the fans to see that the author really took inspiration from the death of Takuro for the death of Gojo. The most interesting part about this is the fact that Takuro, the interesting character in this particular manga who died exactly how Gojo did, got revived later down the line. Given how much of an inspiration Akutami has taken from the series and the fact that even the death that he put in his story was done similarly to that of Takuro, it is highly likely that the revival will be dealt similarly as well. Takuro died exactly how Gojo did and ended up coming back to life later down the line. Gojo will most likely come back as well, which will complete the homage that Akutami paid to this series in a brilliant fashion. Free, of course, for any Gojo return to happen, fans will have to wait further and let the current events conclude. That said, it appears that Gojo's return is very likely and will happen before JJK finally ends. As to whether he will be the same when he returns or not, only the creator can answer this question once he draws Gojo following his return. If Gojo goes south and seeks a new version of himself out, then fans will be in for a surprise as the Gojo that will return will be starkly different from the Gojo that ended up dying. This is intriguing for the fans as they cannot wait to see how their beloved character will have changed following this grueling experience. There is a possibility for Takaba to heal Gojo with his cursed technique. Remember, anything Takaba thinks is funny will happen. It doesn't matter how impossible it is. If Takaba thinks of Gojo being alive, well, that will happen. Takaba used his cursed technique to heal Angel, and it worked. But unfortunately, we are not sure whether he's alive or not. In Chapter 243, Takaba was seen laying on the ground, and many theorized that Takaba was dead after performing with Kenjaku. Well, let's just keep our fingers crossed and hope he's alive. Well, I'm done giving you a heavy dose of copium. You tell me your thoughts in the comments. JJK, Chapter 244 spoilers just came out, and I didn't expect Sukuna to have met his judge and his executioner. Chapter 244 is full of yapping. The yapping is about the plan of what they're going to do to Sukuna, and most of it is not translated. I'll talk more about this plan when the official translation are released. In the meantime, we'll just skip this part of the chapter and go to the most exciting part of this chapter. The biggest part is the end of the chapter. In the end of the chapter, Higuruma managed to catch Sukuna into his domain, and the sure hit effect has already taken place and no one can use their curse technique. But Sukuna is not scared at all, and he has that big smile on his face, meaning that he has already found a way to get out of this domain. Sukuna already has knowledge of Higuruma's domain. When Yuji was first caught in it, that's why Sukuna doesn't seem scared at all. Unfortunately, next week there will be a break. Anyways, please subscribe to my channel and turn on all post notifications. I have never put this much effort into a video before. I would really appreciate it if you subscribe.